ESPN and ESPN2 since 1990. Your home to America's pastime.
The White Sox have one of the best records in the American League since the All-Star break, with a lineup packed with sluggers. They have bashed their way into contention. Tonight, they'll try and knock the Angels around on Monday Night Baseball. Coming up next. From U.S. Cellular Field in Chicago, the White Sox need a victory badly. Tonight, they face the defending world champions, the Anaheim Angels. Chicago has lost 5 in a row at a most inopportune time. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Chicago. Beautiful night in the city. I'm Dave O'Brien along with Rick Sutcliffe. Thanks for joining us. And just about 10 days ago, the White Sox were first-place team. They're not anymore. They've fallen 3 games behind Kansas City again. Not only that, they may have to try and slow down the man who will win the MVP in the American League this year in Garrett Anderson.
Well, we know one thing. He's already won the MVP of the Home Run Derby, which was played right here. He was also the MVP of the All-Star game. It was he that started that terrific comeback by the American League to win that ball game. He's a .300 career hitter. He's a guy that plays every day. He's a terrific teammate. And when you talk to manager Mike Scioscia, the one thing he says about Garrett Anderson, he said he's consistent. Well, he's consistently good.
Hey, the White Sox, on the other hand, they have been a maddeningly inconsistent ball club all season long. And right now having their problems trying to chase down the Kansas City Royals. But the guy who's been consistent not only this year, but for the last 4 or 5 years for them above all else is Maglio Ordonez.
Well, the one thing, though, that he did this year he's never done before. He was the American League Player of the Month during the month of July. He's hit almost 400 in the last 45 ball games. But when you look back, last year he drove in 135 runs. He might get to 100 this year. That's a lot of runs. That's a difference in a lot of wins and losses. But it's not his fault, Dave. He's going to need some help if they're going to win this thing.
So this one sets up as a battle between 2 quiet, rather reluctant superstars in the American League. Garrett Anderson, he loves this ballpark in Chicago. And Maglio Ordonez, he will try to fire up these mysterious White Sox tonight in Chicago when we come back on Monday Night Baseball.
ESPN's Monday Night Baseball, brought to you by 1010-987. No commitment. It's 3 cents a minute and 39 cents to connect. 1010-987.
Monday Night Baseball from the site of the 2003 All-Star game back on July 15th. The White Sox were 7 games out at that time. Since then, they have rallied to overtake the Royals briefly. They actually led the division for a day. They've slipped 3 games off the pace coming into this one. Coming up tonight, we'll see if we can pick a favorite in the crowded field in the race for the American League All-Star. The MVP, Garrett Anderson. He is in the running for MVP. In Sut's Soapbox, Rick will talk about the fallen angels and why the world champs fell from the sky. And Sut goes one-on-one with the White Sox Paul Konerko as he explains his amazing turnaround since the All-Star break. All still to come on Monday Night Baseball. And of course, Gary Miller is our third man on the show. And Gary, what are you going to be busy with tonight?
Well, as soon as Billy Koch and Scott Schoenweis go by, we'll tell you a little bit about those 2 guys, one nursing an injury, one pitching against his old team. We'll also know that Robbie Alomar's reunited with his brother Sandy, but what it's taken to be reunited with his longtime uniform number, and Jared Washburn's unconventional methods for getting prepared for a start. We'll also look into why it's a home away from home for both Washburn and his third baseman, Scott Spezio, tonight, Dave.
All right, Gary, look forward to that. Anaheim starting lineup now. Mike Scioscia rolls out this one. He's missing 2 key pieces in Gold Glover Darren Erstad and third baseman Troy Gloss. They're both hurt, but he does have the steady vet Tim Salmon.
Well, back in 1992, he was a California Angel. Then in 97, they became the Anaheim Angels. That was the biggest year in the career of Tim Salmon. He had 129 RBIs that year. He's not that type of player anymore, Dave, but he's still getting the job done, having a good, solid year.
We'll see what he does tonight against the tough left-hander Mark Burley. He is 10-12, and like his opponent tonight, fellow left-hander Jared Washburn, a lot of expectations coming off a great year last year, and he's fallen.
Well, like a lot of his teammates, he plays better here than he does on the road. The White Sox have really struggled on the road this year. They're under 500 there, but in Burley's last 4 home starts, a perfect 4-0.
As you can see, he's a very quick worker. And facing the center fielder Sean Figgins, then it'll be Eric Owens and Garrett Anderson. As the Angels come in, really pretty much playing out the string, but they also have a 17-5 record against the Central Division this year. They have abused the White Sox division. Mike Scioscia knows this very well, that they're going to have a big say with all the games they have left against Central Division teams in who wins this division.
And they're playing real good, confident baseball now. You're going to see some unfamiliar names, particularly people that watched the World Series last year with Troy Glaus, Darren Erstad, but nonetheless, they've still got talent.
Figgins chops that one easily to Valentine, who sets him down on the throw. One up and one down to get started tonight. And now defensively for Chicago, it's Lee, Everett, and Ordonez from left to right in the outfield. Maglio Ordonez doesn't have a cannon out there in right, but he's always in the right spot.
You know what? We did the open on Ordonez. Normally we pick somebody else to talk good about, but this guy, this is his ball club. He does everything. He's a five-tool type player, and if they win the American League Central, he, right along with that, might win the American League MVP.
Eric Owens gets in the batter's box. He's hitting .231 with a homer and 14 runs batted in. Of course, the man on deck, Garrett Anderson. He might be at the top of a lot of ballots, regardless of where Anaheim finishes in their standings. Ripped into left field for a base hit, and maybe more. Lee will cut it off, and Owens will be content with a long single. So a one-out hit for Eric Owens, and he's aboard.
Guy with the speed of Eric Owens, a lot of times you might test the arm of Carlos Lee, but when you think about the guy you mentioned coming up next, Garrett Anderson, if he doesn't hit a home run, he's hit 26 of those. He's probably going to hit a double. He's already doubled 41 times. Both of those would probably score Eric Owens.
Here's Garrett Anderson checking in at .320, 26 homers. He's driven in 98 runs, which is second in the American League. He went 3 for 5 on Sunday against the Detroit Tigers, and with his first inning single, that was career hit number 1,589. He passed Brian Downing as the Angels' all-time hit king. So he's carving his name in their franchise history books as every month passes.
Yeah, but he's not happy, Dave. He was out here at 2:30 this afternoon taking early batting practice. He said he just doesn't feel comfortable. Manager Mike Scioscia said he would like to know what that uncomfortable zone is for Garrett Anderson. He never hit like this guy could.
Yep. Anderson in the top 10 in hitting and home runs and RBIs and slugging, but he pops that one up gently to Alomar. Robbie Alomar with a catch and 2 down. He has never fared well against Burley, and he knew that coming into tonight. Just 3 out of 20 against the lefty, and he's 0 for 1 this evening.
The one guy that Mark Burley has to be happy not seeing, Troy Glaus, 6 for 12 with 3 home runs off Burley. Not available and probably out with season-ending surgery before long on that right shoulder.
Here's Tim Salmon. He's the DH tonight, hitting .274 with 16 home runs, and he's driven in 60. You talked about the Angels, though, playing some pretty good baseball right now. They have won 5 in a row, which is what they did just before the All-Star break, and right before the break, right before Mike Scioscia came in here to manage the American League team at U.S. Cellular Park. They had pulled within 8.5 games of Seattle. It looked like, Rick, they were starting to pull it together, and they looked like they had a chance to get in a race.
And that's exactly what Mike Scioscia said. And he said all of a sudden, 4 days later, when they picked up the second half of the season, they were right back where they were when the season started. They just weren't confident. They were hitting the ball at people, and because of that, their record took them completely out of the American League West.
Yeah, 3 weeks after that, they were 15.5 games back. Soft liner caught by Valentine, and Salmon is retired. So are the Angels. 1 hit and 1 left. So the White Sox, trying to make tracks tonight on the Kansas City Royals in the Central, come to bat with White Sox manager Jerry Manuel. He's a strong believer in the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi, and he has needed all of Gandhi's patience this summer, which has tested him, and he's been on the hot seat. We're chatting away with the umpires. Eric Cooper behind the plate tonight. Let's get a look at his starting 9. Tony Graffanino will lead it off. Robbie Alomar at second base. We will center on Carlos Lee in left field. He, not Frank Thomas or Konerko or Ordonez, leading the Sox in RBIs.
Tell you what, he's had 4 great good years, consistent good years, but he's putting together that big year this year, heading towards career highs in homers and RBIs. And the biggest thing you're going to notice about Carlos Lee, we've already seen it, he hustles, just like he did cutting off that line drive by Eric Owens.
He will face the lefty Jared Washburn, 9-11. He has not been able to follow up his breakthrough season of 2002 when he won 18 for the Angels.
Well, you and I both know, Dave, he got hurt in spring training. In a fielding drill, he dove for a little pop-up. He fell on that throwing arm, and inconsistent arm strength has been his problem. That's led to 27 home runs given up this year.
So the southpaw from La Crosse, Wisconsin, delivers up and away for ball 1. The White Sox have dropped 5 in a row, and tonight they can fall 4 games behind Kansas City if the Royals beat the Yankees. And Kansas City has activated Jose Lima, and he's pitching that game tonight, and he is 7-0. The White Sox, if they lose again, could be 4 out. They've lost 6 out of their last 7. Just went on a miserable road trip. Jerry Manuel said it was a real bad trip, including losing 3 out of 4 at Anaheim. So at the wrong time, they've been heading south. Graffinino getting the start tonight because Creedy has a sore foot. And so Graffinino is at third base. The count 3-1. Pitch, and that's going to drop in for a strike at the knees and a full count on Graffinino.
You know, partner, to me, the White Sox and the Twins are already 4 games out. Take a look at that loss column. That's the only one that really matters.
Bounding ball down to get it. Scott Spezio, and he fires on to retire Graffinino. 1 down. That's right. We tend to look at the standings and games back, but you have to look at that loss column for the true story.
You're all going to play 162 ball games, so they're all going to even out. There's some off days, some double hitters that would happen. That's the column you need to watch, and that's a little bit of a comfort zone right now for Tony Pena with his Royals.
The Royals, incidentally, are getting pounded tonight by the Yankees. It is 6-2. That's in the 4th inning at Yankee Stadium. And you know the White Sox have eyes on that scoreboard.
Well, and there's a lot of baseball left with the way that Kansas City Royals team has come back this year.
Man, do they fight.
In the first game of the series just last week between those 2 teams in Kansas City, the Yankees jump out to a 5-1 lead. Royals came back and won that game and ended up winning 2 out of 3 against the Bronx Bombers.
They're a tough club to put away. They never feel like they're out of a game. They may play small ball, but they can get a lot of runs in a hurry. Good fastball there by Washburn, blew it right by Robbie Alomar, and the count is 1-2.
To me, the Royals do a lot of things like the Anaheim Angels did last year. Hitting with runners in scoring position, productive outs, all of those kind of things. But for the Angels, it was Erstad and Troy Glaus. Well, this year for the Royals, it's been Mike Sweeney and Carlos Beltran. They've been hurt. They've been out. Well, guess what? All of a sudden they're back. That team could get even better.
Frank Thomas on deck, right behind Roberto Alomar, who had an 11-game hitting streak in July. Molina got nicked on that foul ball and went flying into right, pretty well hit, but Owens with room backs up to make the catch. Robbie Alomar wearing the number 12. Gary Miller, there's a story behind that.
Davies worn it his whole career. A lot of people think he'll go in the Hall of Fame, but when he came over from the Mets, Willie Harris was wearing number 12. So Willie went to number 13. The problem is Willie's got a tattoo of 12 on his calf. Well, now Robbie's going to have to give up something special for this. He didn't put any monetary limit on it, and so Willie's not sure what he's going to do for the favor. I think they've decided he's going to get some TV monitors for his Cadillac Escalade as a favor for giving up the number 12.
The question is he keeping the tattoo?
He's going to have to, unless he changes that to a 3.
There's Frank Thomas, the big hurt, hitting .260. With 28 homers, 66 RBIs.
His 28 home runs are nice, but the rest of them don't fit. Only 66 RBIs, a .260 average.
Fly to right field, not deep enough, and Owens saunters over near the line to make the catch. So nothing out of the ballpark there for Frank Thomas, and the White Sox go quietly against Washburn. Well, indeed, the real stuff coming your way, the division series. And back on Monday Night Baseball, we are 0-0 here as we go to the top of the second inning. And apparently the field was not in a condition that the managers wanted, especially Mike Scioscia, who had been barking at the home plate up Eric Cooper and the other umpires. And you can see Mike talking about the chalk lines. Rick, he had a problem with that.
Well, I think what he had a problem with was the dirt was piled up right at the chalk lines, as if to keep maybe a bunt going down in that direction from going foul.
Scott Spiezio checks his swing, and that was inside for ball one. Spiezio, then Benji Molina and Adam Riggs, the hitters in this inning.
Spiezio playing third base for the Angels because of the injury to Troy Glass.
Pops this up on the infield, and Konerko in to get it, being fair territory for the first out.
And that might just have been what Mike Scioscia was trying to do, is protect the guy who took all of his ground balls at first base in spring training, a little bit out of position, but nonetheless the manager just trying to make things easier for him.
Guys that went over and looked at it and talked to third base umpire Mike Riley, it was almost like an anthill over there. I mean, if a ball had been bunted foul or down the third baseline halfway up, it would not have been able to crawl that little hill. I can't believe Scioscia saw that from where he's sitting.
I saw Ron Renicky, the third base coach, looking at it as he came in after the top of the first inning. That might have been where the information came from.
Ground ball. That's going to be a fair ball. What a play there by Konerko, and he throws to the pitcher Burley for the out. Konerko showing off some range there all the way into foul territory, but that was a fair ball. And he made a tremendous play. Burley reacted quickly too.
You know, I remember the very first infield coach I ever had in the big league, and he wasn't my coach, but he was with the Dodgers, Monty Baskel, talking about how good infielders have to have a clock. They know when to speed up and they know when to slow down. This right here is where Paul Konerko slows down. He sees the call by the umpire, and then he makes sure that his pitcher has time to get there. Had he thrown that ball off balance or tried to hurry it, it would have made it a lot more difficult for Burley.
So 2 down, and Riggs the batter. He's at first base tonight, hitting right at 200. But I don't think it's ever an accident that good defense comes when a guy on the mound is working at a brisk pace. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that if Burley's throwing strikes. Fly ball left center field on his horse Everett. He's going to reach up to make the catch, and another quick inning from Mark Burley. Didn't waste a lot of time out there. He tossed just 7 pitches and getting them 1, 2, 3. It's Monday Night Baseball. We got to work on these signs a little bit. Monday Night Baseball, and it's the Anaheim Angels and the Chicago White Sox. A big one for the White Sox. In fact, they all are the rest of the way for them. Signs everywhere, signs, and a lot of Maglio Ordonez fans here in Chicago. And why not? He's hitting .319, 22 homers, 75 runs batted in. .395 since the All-Star break. So I think you're right, Rick, that if they are going to overtake Kansas City, and for that matter fight off the Minnesota Twins and win this division, it's going to be on the back of Maglio Ordonez.
I don't know. When you look at the schedule, which both of us did all day today, you got it really favors the Minnesota Twins.
Boy, doesn't it?
A couple of reasons. They've been there. They were there last year.
It's a brutal schedule for the White Sox come September. Hot shot, Spiezio down to get it. Nice sliding stab, and he throws him out. 1 man out. And coming up on Wednesday, all games on ESPN2 at 2 o'clock Eastern. It's the Royals and the Yankees. At 7 Eastern, Oakland at Boston. Some may see Minnesota and Cleveland. And at 10 o'clock Eastern, Atlanta at San Francisco. Jason Schmidt against Shane Reynolds. Major League Baseball on ESPN2. See you in September. Lee having an excellent year at .282, 25 homers. He leads the White Sox with 84 runs batted in. That's in the top 10 in the American League.
And because of the big numbers he's been putting up, Maglio Ordonez has gotten hot because of the protection he's provided.
You're talking about the schedule, and the White Sox with a very difficult schedule. Of all the contenders in the division, you and I agree far and away the most difficult in the last month.
Absolutely. You stop and think. The one thing they like is that there's 22 of their 38 remaining games at home. 7 of the last 10, though, are against the Kansas City Royals, and the last 4 of the year are at Kansas City.
They also have 2 series with Boston. And they have a series with the Yankees as well in September, aside from what they have to do inside their own division.
And that's why I favor the Twins. There are no more New York Yankees for them, and 13 of their last 16 are against Detroit or the Cleveland Indians.
Well, that eases up considerably. Line shot down to get it. Anderson. Garrett Anderson made a fine play in a sinking line drive, and he hauls it in to steal a hit from Carlos Lee. 2 down. The White Sox remaining games 37 after tonight. Inside the division, though, 7 against the Twins, 7 with Kansas City, and as Rick mentioned, those last 4 with the Royals.
And you know who the Minnesota Twins are playing those last 4 games of the year? The Detroit Tigers. So while these two teams could be beating up on each other, that schedule could become huge.
Here's Carl Everett at 280. He's hit 22 homers with 69 runs batted in. Right now, swinging a real good bat. He is locked in. His last 17 games, his average at 373. So when they acquired Carl Everett from Texas and Roberto Alomar on July 1 from the New York Mets, Kenny Williams, the GM of the White Sox, he said it was for depth. We got it. We got what we wanted.
It was for 2 left-handed bats. That's what it was for. This lineup is right-handed dominant. They're going to be difficult on any left-handed pitcher with Ordonez, and you take a look at Maglio and Big Frank. Alomar and Carl Everett better from the left side, gives them a better balance.
Paul Konerko on deck. Everett up there on the right side of the plate tonight, and the fastball is inside. Washburn not a guy who's going to own the radar gun. He does throw strikes.
Neither one of them are going to. Burley either. But what they're going to do, and the reason we don't need to talk about the repertoire, they're going to throw a lot of cut fastballs in, change-ups away.
Punch foul by Everett. That was a change of pace pitch at 84 miles an hour. Remember last year, Washburn was, for a long stretch of the season, Rick, literally unbeatable. He had that 12-game winning streak last summer.
Unbeatable on the road. 13 road wins last year.
Fly ball toward the alley. Figgins got a good jump on it. He dives and he hauls it in. What a catch by Sean Figgins. He got an exceptional jump on a ball that just shot off the bat of Carl Everett. Timed it perfectly and laid out on the warning track to steal a 2-base hit.
Cheers.
Top half of inning number 3 in a game that has been marked by exceptional defense on both sides. Konerko made a whale of a play along the first base side, and Figgins with a terrific play in center field moments ago. And look back at Sean Figgins to go and get that fly ball by Everett and absolutely steal an extra base hit as he dove to get it.
He just outran it.
He has some jets. Adam Kennedy in the batter's box. He's hitting .277 with 10 home runs.
I think a lot like you said earlier, though, partner, you're going to see great defensive plays when you've got pitchers that throw strikes and work as quick as these two guys do. There it is right there. You take a look up. You could see that Figgins really had just taken one step about that time. We've been spoiled the last couple of years watching Darren Erstad and the terrific great jumps that he gets off balls hitting the gap like that. Figgins doesn't need a great start because of that burner he's got.
In there for strike 3 as Burley gets his first K in the book. He fans Adam Kennedy one away. Let's go to the studio for an update. Here's Bill Pito.
Dave, the White Sox watching the Royals, no doubt, as they take on the Yanks. KC leading Chicago by 3 games as play begins. Jorge Posada here, 2-run home run. His 22nd of the year, and the Yankees up easily 6-2 right now in the bottom of the 5th.
He's not healthy. He should still be on the disabled list.
I'm talking about Jose Lima.
That was the same finish or lack of finish that we saw before he went on the DL. That groin injury just got him. He's not able to get out front. There's no velocity.
Meziga pumps one foul off to the left. Sean Figgins will be up next. And Hernandez, when Elvis Hernandez just was sent down to the minor leagues, we did a game right here in Chicago a couple of weeks ago where he was obviously struggling. You thought at the time he was still hurt.
Yep.
And there are indications that that is the case. And
he wasn't able to finish that slider, which makes you think that there's some problems with his elbow. How about Kevin Appier? 6 shutout innings against the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
Just recently released by the Anaheim Angels. Still owed $15.75 million.
Ouch.
And you know what? Talking with Mike Scioscia and Bud Black today, it wasn't so much that Appier, I mean, he was struggling. He was right around 500. But Scott Shields was just better and deserved to be in the rotation. They think they may have, they've got some money to spend over the winter. We know that. But they think they may have their starting 5 in line for next year. It starts with Washburn. They still feel like he's a #1 type guy. You've got Lackey, Ortiz with a big year. Seeley's velocity is back. And then the guy we just mentioned, Scott Shields, basically won that job over Appier. And with about 8 more starts to go, time will tell.
Burley's pitch is up and away in ball 4. So a man on a walk here in the 3rd inning, and that'll bring up Sean Figgins. And Burley a little bit wild on that pitch.
You got to manage a little bit now. Not a lot of power coming up in the next 2 guys, but a lot of speed, starting with the guy that's on base right now. Figgins with a long look at Ron Renicky. This is where I was always jealous of left-handed pitchers. I mean, if you've got a good move or a slide step, you can eliminate the stolen base.
And he's got a terrific move.
Exactly. The only option is a hit and run.
He shuts down the running game all by himself. Figgins 0 for 1. He's grounded out to short.
8 pickoffs last year by Mark Burley. Tell me that those didn't help him win at least a couple of those 19 wins he had.
Burley 6'2", 200 pounds, 24 years old. They thought they were going to get a similar year from him. Has not happened here in 2003. Last year 19 wins. He looked like an ace. Now, what has set him back for the most part? A .422 earned run average. That's not out of line, but his first 15 starts, he was dismal, Rick.
Well, the league adjusted to him. He was throwing that cut fastball in off the plate. They quit chasing it. Now he's throwing it more so in the strike zone. He's throwing more changeups to the outer half. He's readjusted. Because of that, he is 8-2 in his last 12 starts.
Well, he's walked to Meziga. He's at first base. Figgins, a .310 hitter coming into tonight. He's a switch batter. Bounding ball toward the hole. That'll squeak through for a base hit. Meziga rounding second. He's on into third safely. So a base hit by Figgins as he chops it behind the runner, and they're on the corners here for the Angels.
Tim Salmon's a designated hitter tonight because Mike Scioscia said he wants to look at the younger guys. This is one of them he's getting a real good look at. We saw an outstanding defensive play in the bottom half of the 2nd inning. Now look at the intelligent hitting there on the part of Figgins. This is a young guy. You'd think he'd be a free swinger. He waited patiently for a pitch that he could hit through the gap between first and second. Now they're at the corners.
Eric Owens steps in. He singled in the 1st inning. And he takes a strike. We were talking about the Angels a little earlier. The Angels of last year and how they played that gritty style, a lot of long at bats, good starting pitching, good relief work. All the pieces of the puzzle seem to come together in the 2nd half. This date 1 year ago, Anaheim was 74-49. That was their 1-loss record. They were just a half game out of first place in the American League West. The very next day, they tied Oakland for the division lead. Now, eventually, they fell 4 games back. They lost the West, but they won the wild card. They went 99-63. Now, if they don't lose the rest of the way this season, they still fall 1 win short of last year's victory total. Cut on and missed by Owens. They would have to go 38-0 just to fall 1 game shy.
There's their hitting coach, Mickey Hatcher, and he said these are the situations right here that they have not done as well as they did last year. They had more people at third base with less than 2 outs than any team in the American League last year. They also got in a higher percentage of those runs than any other team. Well, they've got the situation here. We'll see if this is like last year or more so like this year.
Willie's pitch is high. And with a fastball. 1-2. And Burley without a lot of a sample to go on, but Eric Owens is 3 for 4 against him in his career.
You don't see Burley shaking off a whole lot, do you?
No.
A lot of confidence in that man behind home plate, Sandy Alomar. Why wouldn't you? Young guy, Burley just 24 years of age. An all-star last year, along with Paul Konerko.
Mark Burley hails from St. Charles, Missouri. Cut on and missed by Owens, and down he goes on strikes. And he chased the pitch outside the zone.
Just like he did on the second strike. But take a look at the pitch. This is the adjustment that Burley has made along with pitching coach Don Cooper. Take a look at the changeup. Look at it out over the plate. He was looking for that movement to come back to the corner. Looking for a backdoor breaking ball. Never got it.
So Owens now 1 for 2. Second strikeout of the inning for Burley. And now it's Garrett Anderson, who may be the MVP in the American League this season. Although where the Angels finish in the standings, and they are out of any kind of a pennant race or wild card race, could affect that. He punches a base hit, though, for a single into right. That will score a run. Runners at first and third. It's 1-0 the Angels. And that's RBI number 99 for Garrett Anderson.
Well, he actually has 101 RBIs if you count the 2 from the All-Star game.
That's right.
But they don't count here. It was Garrett Anderson in the 6th inning of that All-Star game that got the American League back in it. He hit a 2-run homer there, and it was also him in the 8th inning. If you remember, everything fell in order for the National League. You had Billy Wagner in the 7th. Gagne was out there for the 8th. Smoltz ready to come in for the 9th. Well, Garrett Anderson got that base hit off Gagne with 1 out that led to that dramatic homer by Hank Blaylock.
Anderson was 3 for 4 in that game with a homer and 2 RBIs. Of course, he won the home run derby right here over Albert Pujols in that big final round. Also has not committed an error all season long.
Well, he's only committed like 4 in the last 3 or 4 years.
He's been tremendous. Made a great play tonight in left field on a sinking line drive. The field of candidates for the American League MVP is almost as crowded as the gubernatorial field in California. Anderson just might be the Terminator when all is said and done. As far as the rest of that field, we're going to talk about that in detail coming up next inning. Jam shot and a bouncing ball to Graffinino, to Alomar for the force, retiring the side. But the Angels are on the scoreboard first. And the AL MVP candidate, Garrett Anderson, the man to get him started. He has a lot of company, though, in Nomar and Ichiro. They're in the hunt as well. Paul Konerko in the batter's box, and he takes a strike from Jared Washburn. And the left-hander for Anaheim has a 1-0 lead. Rick Sutcliffe, Gary Miller, and Dave O'Brien with you from Chicago and U.S. Cellular Field.
Good to have you back, partner.
I am delighted to be with you when the lights are on. I could not get out of New York for our game on Friday. A fly ball well struck into left. Anderson back, reaches up, and he snatches it very casually. That was Andrew Jones style. Not a care in the world for Garrett Anderson.
That's just a guy that knows exactly where he's at anytime he gets between the lines on a baseball field. You saw him with 2 outs get a clutch RBI to give him the lead. You've already now seen him take away 2 extra base hits just on defense alone. I mean, that was his reputation when he came up. You know, they said that he you know, it didn't look like he went at full speed all the time. Well, you know what? He doesn't have to. He still gets there. He just knows where he's at. Most people don't.
Ground ball softly, charging it. The shortstop, Almazega, throws on to get him, and Valentin is retired. There are 2 away. We'll talk a lot about Garrett Anderson tonight, and he might be the man to beat for the MVP in the American League. That race with Jason Giambi, Carlos Delgado, A-Rod, Brett Boone having a terrific year. Manny Ramirez with 86 runs batted, and you like Ichiro, I know.
That's my guy right there. You take a look at what that team has done, and he's a big part of it. Brett Boone, too, driving in a lot of those runs, but a lot of those 96 RBIs for Brett Boone are part of those 92 runs scored by Ichiro. And oh yeah, he can play a little defense too.
Wouldn't you bet this year of all years that the MVP has to come in the American League from a team that goes to the playoffs?
I think so.
Garrett Anderson's team is not going to the playoffs. Figgins makes the catch on a line shot by Sandy Alomar Jr. And it's another fast inning. Washburn needing just 6 pitches. The Angels with a 1-0 lead over the Chicago White Sox here on Monday Night Baseball. Scott Spezio starts it off against Mark Burley, and we just have time to catch our breath in between innings. I mean, the way these guys are working, they're getting it, they are throwing it. 3 innings in 37 minutes. This can't be the American League, Rick Sucker.
I'll tell you what, though, without the great defense played by Anaheim, Bud Black and Mike Scioscia might be talking about who are they going to get up.
Yeah, they've been some line shots off Washburn.
And still not a base hit yet by the team from Chicago.
No, in fact, the White Sox don't have a base runner, so very much an imperfect, perfect game from that standpoint. They're getting around on him. A high fly lifted into deep left. Charging back Lee. So is Everett. And Everett makes the catch on the warning track. Spezio flies out. 1 away. Let's go back to the studio and Bill Pito.
All right, Dave. Braves with the D-backs this afternoon. Gary Sheffield, his 31st home run of the year, extending his hitting streak to 22 games as the Braves win it 5-1. They have 81 wins. Look at the 2 guys with the ball. You didn't. Oh, there they are. Look at that. Souvenir.
It's worth a hug. Souvenir's worth a hug. That's a red-hot Gary Sheffield. 22 straight. Albert Pujols, of course, is hitting 30 in a row. Flu-like symptoms yesterday, though. Here's Benji Molina. He is 0 for 1. And he's late on that fastball. Foul tipped it into the mitt of Alomar Jr.
Tell you what, though, this guy just continues to improve every year. Molina won the Gold Glove last year. The power started to come around this year.
He has hit 11 home runs.
Hey, guys, he's throwing a changeup now. I heard Mickey Hatcher, the hitting coach for the Angels, telling them all before the game that's a pitch he's going to more and more now.
Adam Riggs up next. He is 0 for 1 tonight, as is Molina.
I think that's where a big league baseball player's ego gets in his way. They don't want to get jammed with that cutter. Look at that, like that. They don't like that. That's embarrassing. They get a bat that they like. They want to keep it. They spend all that time, you know, getting the pine tar just right and the tape on it. Look at the finish here. Trying to get to that cutter on the inside part of the plate and keep that bat in one piece.
He wound up with a one-handed swing.
Change up. Ooh, that a birdie. Nice adjustment there. That's the difference in Molina. He was a catch and throw guy when he got to the big leagues. Becoming complete.
He can certainly still catch and throw. He tops this one to Konerko.
No, he still can't run, though.
2 down. Well, here comes Adam Riggs, but the other day when he was called up on Saturday, look at the team he wound up playing for. The Angies. Somebody got the uniform wrong. They missed an L. They tossed in another E. Was that a practical joke? Mike Scioscia having fun with Riggs. Gary Miller, what's the story behind a uniform problem?
Well, the problem is those are those brand new uniforms they had the first time they'd worn them. They're new to, and he was new to the team. The manufacturer put it on wrong. They got his name right in the back. That's what the team does. The front had Angie on the front. He heard about it when he got back to the dugout, but what he heard about it more was from the fans in left field. They all wanted to take a picture of him for posterity. He said, hey, I'm trying to play a game here. So it's his 3rd go-round in the majors. He's been up with the Dodgers and the Padres. Now he finally comes up with the Angels. He was their leader in home runs and RBIs at AAA, and then he has that. Then he can't even keep the uni.
Oh, he doesn't get a chance to keep
it.
Well,
they changed it. They changed it to an L.
What a bummer. No, you got to hold on to that one. You got to abscond with that. That's a keeper for life.
You got to do what? Abscond?
Abscond with it.
Well, what does that mean?
Well, that means, you know, walk out casually and no one will notice. It's another word for thievery.
These fans won't let you walk out with any mistake casually.
No, that's right.
That's just the great thing about baseball is that interaction, particularly for outfielders. They have so much fun.
Cut out and missed by Riggs. Adam Kennedy would hit next if given a chance, but there are 2 out. The Angels with a 1-0 lead. And the White Sox trying to bust a 5-game losing skid. Fly ball into left center field. That's going to settle down for a base hit. Hit it just hard enough. And that was a hit for the Anaheim Angels. Nothing for the Angies tonight.
This guy's had a ton of hits at the minor league level. Just has not been able to put it together in the big leagues. Had a shoulder injury about 3 years ago, and because of that, he lost that power swing that he once had. Third base coach Ron Renicky and hitting coach Mickey Hatcher saw him 3 or 4 years ago in AAA, though. They remembered that swing, and they thought through video and hard work they can get it back with Rick. One of those young guys that they're going to evaluate the last month.
Kennedy, first ball swinging, tags that one into left, but catchable, and Carlos Lee over to get it. The side is retired. No runs, 1 hit, 1 man left. It remains the defending world champs 1 and the White Sox nothing in the middle of the 4th. Somebody new will be carrying the World Series championship trophy when the playoffs are all said and done. It will not be the Anaheim Angels to repeat, but they're going to have a lot to say about who wins this division in the American League Central. Now tonight, they're just trying to put him in on base against Jared Washburn. They haven't done that yet through 3 innings. Graffinino 0 for 1. He's tapped out to third. Alomar up next. Sharp ground ball, but Amazega has it and on to first base for the out. So 1 down. The Chicago White Sox playing here tonight at U.S. Cellular, the site of the 2003 All-Star game, have lost 5 consecutive games. And Rick, the Kansas City Royals, every time the White Sox get there, maybe even tie them up for first, the Royals shoot out again, and they have a 3-game lead over the White Sox in the Central.
You know, trying to figure out what's going on with this White Sox team. You go into their clubhouse, and it's kind of like, you know, different cliques all around. It's not like this team has really been brought together yet, and you got 25 guys pulling on the same side of the rope. They're out there playing hard, but it seems like one guy's trying to hit home runs, the other guy's trying to steal a base, and it's just there's not a whole lot of unity going on with this team.
They have been a mystery. They may have more talent than anybody in the division. And yet, there they are, 3 games off the pace. And if they lose tonight, and if the Royals can rally, they are losing 9-3 to the New York Yankees as we speak.
How about, you talk about talent. Just watching Alfredo Amazega right now. 2 outstanding plays defensively there. Replacement guy David Eckstein not able to go tonight. That hamstring's been nagging him for the last couple of weeks. They finally shut him down. And what Figgins has done out in center field behind Jared Washburn.
Here's Frank Thomas. He's 0 for 1. He's flying to right field.
Well, here's the guy. I mean, he said in the paper, I'm trying to hit a home run. I'm here to hit home run. Well, Jerry Manuel said, I'd like to see you, drive in runs. Frank said, that's not what I'm here to do. That's part of that, I don't know, just confusion that you get when you see the quotes that come out of that clubhouse.
And when he plays first base,
he can't do that, though.
Higher batting average, but a lot more home runs, obviously, is the DH. He does that far more frequently.
You can't play him at first base. You can't, because I'm telling you, late in the ball game, teams are going to run.
Right.
You got a left-handed pitcher in a mound like Mark Burley. You get a base runner, they're just going to take off because of Frank's problems throwing. They're going to take off every single time to win a ball game. It's not his glove. I mean, he can catch it if it's hit at him. He can catch throws, but it's just him throwing that's the problem.
Punch foul again, and after a couple of mammoth home runs early in the month, when he looked like he was going on a tear, the only thing the big hurt is hurting lately is his batting average. He's in full throttle reverse. 196 in the month of August.
And just 1 homer in the last 11 White Sox games.
Frank Thomas, a lot like his team, has turned into an enigma here in 2003.
He's not for a pitcher, though, because you can see he's pulling off with everything. Just stay away.
Line shot and caught by Spezio. He went down ankle high to get it. Well, of course, they won the World Championship last year. When we come back at Sut's Soapbox, Rick talks about why the Angels have fallen from the sky.
We all know that the Anaheim Angels were world champions last year. What we don't know is what happened. Well, injuries, sure. First of all, there were a lot of those, actually more than their share, but possibly being a little bit complacent. What I mean by that, there's a saying in the horse business called being barn blind. When you're barn blind, what that means is that you think the talent that you actually have is not really as good as what it is. You get it out on the big stage and things start to change a little bit. Well, that might have been what happened as far as their starting rotation was concerned. Also maybe as far as their offense was concerned. If you want to have a dynasty like the New York Yankees have, the key to that is to add a key component every year. Think about what they've done. It was Musina, then it was Giambi. Where would they be without Hideki Matsui this year? Talented players who have that hunger inside of them to get to the next level. You know, you try to not only add that talent, but you try to keep that chemistry together as well. They've been able to do that. Anaheim did not add anything at all. They never got out of the gate, and because of it, partner, they're just going to limp to that finish line.
Well, it would appear that is the case as Amasega strikes out to begin the 5th inning. You've talked to Mike Scioscia a lot today, and I know that you guys go way, way back. What's his mindset like? Is he just looking forward to next year, getting this year done, playing some kids, seeing what he has, getting his rotation set? Certainly has no bullpen trouble. They've been a terrific bullpen. What's his mindset right now?
He's doing exactly right now what he did the first couple of years he had to do, getting this team in order to go win a world championship. He's evaluating so that this team can evolve. He evaluated with Troy Glaus. He said, I don't care if you strike out 150 times. I want you to hit the ball out of the park, and I want you to improve hitting with runners in scoring position. He did that. He talked to Darren Erstad. He said less is more. I don't need you diving and running into walls all the time. There are certain times where if you play at 75-80%, it's acceptable. He looked at Garrett Anderson. He said, you know what? I know you hit 300 every year, but I need more. He said, I'd rather have you hit 280 and drive in 120 runs than hit 320 and only drive in 80. They have done that.
Swing and a miss by Figgins, quickly disposed of by Mark Burley. He fans the first 2 in the 5th inning. Next he'll go up against Eric Owens here, who has singled and struck out. Base is empty here. Anderson up next. Funny thing about Garrett Anderson, he's still hitting 320, but he's driving in 100 runs, and he's going to hit 30 home runs again.
You'd never know it.
No, I know.
Talking to him every day. Every day, Anderson. Played in every game this year. Really the last 4 or 5 years. You can count on him out there for 160.
Right now, Tim Salmon has a bunch of franchise records for home runs and RBIs, and he's been a member of the Angels franchise ever since he broke in 1992. He'll bat after Anderson. When all is said and done, if Garrett Anderson continues to play for the Angels, he'll own them all. Every franchise mark.
Well, if it's not him, if Troy Glaus can find a way to stay healthy, gonna have to get that shoulder fixed though. You know, it's remarkable that they're as close to 500 as they are. Basically, Erstad and Troy Glaus, they had about 6 good weeks where they were close to being at 100%. The rest of the time, they tried to play through it and just couldn't produce like you know they can.
In there for strike, and it's a full count on Owens.
Eckstein's been hurt. Salmon's been hurt. Anderson has been banged up, but he won't even think about. He won't even walk by the trainer's room.
Erstad a couple of times on the DL because of that hamstring, which has been very, very troubling. Little pop up into right, racing in Ordonez. He'll make the catch. A 1-2-3 for Burley, and the Chicago White Sox, they'll come to bat looking for their first hit of the night off Jared Washburn. White Sox fans, Christmas card, 1-0. The Angels have the lead. Deep fly to center field by Ordonez, swinging at the first pitch, but it falls into the glove of Sean Figgins. Jared Washburn is still perfect tonight. Tell you what, though, Gary Miller, he's given up some shots. He does not look shaken or stirred. He's a tough guy to stir up before games, isn't he?
Dave, you know, a lot of pitchers, Randy Johnson being the most glaring example, you can't even look at him, let alone talk to him on the day they're pitching. Not only could he carry on a conversation with Jared Washburn, I was sitting with him in the clubhouse, and his greatest concern was the Halo League. That's the fantasy football league they have that he's the commissioner of. Their draft is 2 weeks away. These guys are already getting prepared. and that's what his main concern is. I asked him about it. He said, look, there's enough pressure pitching the lineups, especially like the White Sox have. I don't need to get too worked up before the game.
Well, he seems like he's got his head screwed on straight and not too much bothers him. But Sut, how about you now before a start, game day? Could anybody look at you and come away with all their limbs?
I was a little different. I wanted to be mad. I wanted to be focused. I really didn't have anything I needed to talk to my teammates about. Definitely wasn't going to talk to anybody on the opposing team. But you got to remember, Washburn's a left-hander. I mean, they do things different.
Enough said, yeah.
I remember Bert Blyleven. You couldn't tell. And this guy, to me, should be in the Hall of Fame. All of those strikeouts and all of those wins. But you could not tell whether it was the day he was going to pitch or not. With Greg Maddux, you could always tell. He would always sit down and do fan mail. He wanted just to, that's how he got through that time where you got to be at the ballpark at 4 o'clock. The game doesn't start till 7. You got nothing to do. You're not working out. You're not running. Of course, unless you're Jamie Moyer. And if you're Jamie Moyer, well, then he usually runs about 2 to 3 miles earlier in that day just to get some of that adrenaline out before his start.
Way by everybody. Carlos Lee in the batter's box. Look at the grin on the face of Washburn as he cut that one loose.
I think this too is where sometimes that shoulder injury he had in spring training gets him. You see, everything looked right other than he just didn't get his arm out in front where his body thought it would be.
He hasn't struck out anybody yet. Lee gets a piece of that one. I think you're right. It's something about left-handers. They're just loosey-goosey, even on days of starts. Al Leiter's a great example. He won his 12th game of the year yesterday for the New York Mets, struck out 10. He's a very approachable guy on game day. In fact, he has so much energy, he needs to talk some of it off.
Yeah, there's a left-hander, Bud Black. Tom Glavine will do a pregame interview before a game he pitches.
Swing and a miss, and he gets his first strikeout. Washburn perfect so far tonight. Let's go to the studio and Bill Pito.
All right, Dave, the first place Royals struggling against the Yanks. Jose Lima gave up 6 runs in 4 innings. And now Paul Abbott to Kareem Garcia. Garcia's 10th of the year, hitting .333 as a Yankees. A 3-run shot, made it 9-2. It's now 9-4. Yanks bottom 6.
This is Kareem Garcia's time of the year. Last year with more RBIs than anybody after the All-Star break. At it again.
Well, there's a base runner, and there goes the perfect game bid as Carl Everett gets hit. Washburn had thrown a 91-mile-an-hour fastball during the Carlos Lee at bat all the way to the backstop. Now he hits Everett. He becomes the first man to get to first base.
Partner, you could see he was a little bit shaken there too. It's just a cut fastball in the inner half of the plate. But because of the fact Everett starts so close to that home plate, he had absolutely nowhere to go. That cut fastball just continued to chase Carl Everett. Everett's not happy about it because it's going to hurt, but absolutely no intention meant there.
Carl Everett has a history of breaking up perfect game bids, right? And no hit bids. Remember what he did to Mike Mussina while Everett was a member of the Red Sox a couple of years ago at Fenway Park with 2 out in the 9th. He got that hit. So now Washburn will work from the set. We'll see how this works out.
See, that's why I was a little smarter than Mussina. I know he was a Stanford grad and all that stuff, and I barely got through high school. I would get those no-hitters out of the way early.
Don't mess with them late. No. Take all the drama out of it.
Can you imagine getting into the 9th inning and losing it?
How deep did you go before you lost one?
I think I got to the 3rd. Get it over with.
In there for a called strikeout, Konerko. Now, come on now. You had to have gone.
No idea.
7, 8 innings.
No.
Never went that far, huh?
High school. Minor leagues.
Did you throw no-hitters in high school, too?
Oh. About every other start. Didn't we all?
No, we didn't all. No. You guys who wound up in big league uniforms.
Oh, now it's you guys.
Everett on at first base, and Washburn's pitch runs inside on Konerko. He's 0 for 1, having flied to left.
That's exactly the same pitch that hit Carl Everett. It's just a difference in where a hitter starts his swing. Konerko off the plate. He's got that open stance. That's a big point right here. Konerko's not got a lot of hits this year. But he can change all of that in the last 6 weeks.
Not many lately either. He had reversed himself with a great run right after the All-Star break, but just one hit in his last 17 at-bats.
But what he's done, I think it's important, is he's reversed his mindset. All right, it's going to be a bad year. Forget about it. I had a great year last year. It's not going to happen. But you know what? If we get to the postseason and I help win a few games to get there, well, most of it will be forgotten.
Everett not running, and that's going to be strike 3. Konerko could not hold it. And Washburn still has a no-hitter going, if not a perfect game. Garrett Anderson, the American League MVP candidate, the man who was the MVP of the All-Star game, is coming up when we come back in Chicago.
Life's better when your cell phone has a walkie-talkie.
On to inning number 6 here in Chicago at U.S. Cellular Field. A little conversation here as Washburn is throwing a no-hitter.
Yeah, Bud Black, Molina, Washburn, and also Mike Scioscia were involved with that, and it was pertaining to where Carl Everett starts and ends up in the batter's box.
Anderson rolls that one. Alomar for a quick first out.
Scioscia was telling Molina to watch where he starts and where his stride goes to. You can see at home plate where the hitters completely take those lines out. They don't even want, they want the umpire to guess where it's supposed to be, how close they can get to home plate, particularly Carl Everett. I mean, they're gone. You can't even tell where they once were. Everett's one of the guys that takes those lines out so that he can get right on top of that plate. You've got an experienced longtime catcher behind home plate in Mike Scioscia telling some of the younger guys what the rules are.
Tim Salmon on the topic of experience. He's 0 for 2. He stands way back there on the spot where that line's supposed to be. He broke in when they were the California Angels. And then in 93 he was the Rookie of the Year. 92 he started, and 93 had a big first year, full year.
Big year in 97 when they became the Anaheim Angels, but the one he'll remember is last year.
A looping liner safely into center for a single. So Salmon is aboard. Scott Spezio up next.
We all had a lot of fun watching the Rally Monkey last year, right? And it was hysterical.
You know, it had its moments. I have to think it got a little bit old there at the end. But
I saw it on TV and I thought, this is a joke. That's stupid. But when you were actually there and you experience it, I mean, this is entertainment. It's all about competing for that entertainment dollar. And those fans loved it there. They got those clackers together and what have you. Well, Mickey Hatcher did that same thing at the All-Star game. And you know who the Rally Monkey was?
Spezio to deep fly into left field, backing up Lee with room on a track to make the catch. Salmon hustles back into first base. Who was the Rally Monkey?
Mike Sweeney.
Oh, really?
On the club, not able to play. Mickey went to him and he says, they were down, right? Late in the game. He said, what are you doing around here? Yeah, you're not doing anything. I know what you're going to do. He said, you're going to be the Rally Monkey. And Mickey started hopping around, scratching his armpits like he was one. And Sweeney got up and started doing it. And wouldn't you know it, the next thing you know.
Hard to believe that kind of activity from someone like Mickey Hatcher. Isn't it just a shock that he'd act like a goofball to get somebody going. Molina stings that one toward the alley. Here comes Ordonez making the catch. Both of these pitchers have given up some shots tonight. Most of them have been caught. 1-0 Anaheim. Anaheim with a 1-0 lead, and as you can see, 5 hits for the Angels, nothing for the White Sox. And only one man has reached first base so far tonight for Chicago. There's Carl Everett, who was hit by a pitch with 2 out in inning number 5. This is Jose Valentin. He's 0 for 1, having grounded out to short.
Almost been like an off night for the home plate umpire, Eric Cooper, tonight. Not a whole lot of pitches to call. They're up there hacking.
Topped up. Molina with room to make the play. Makes the catch. Valentin 0 for 2. We were talking with Paul Konerko earlier tonight. You were down on the field, and the additions that they made well before the trade deadline to acquire Carl Everett and Robbie Alomar, he thinks are going to be huge for this White Sox team.
Now it's starting to come around once we got Robbie and Carl.
Yeah.
That made a huge difference because now you have 2 proven battle-tested guys in there that are tough outs. Even on their bad at-bats, they're up there taking 6, 7, 8 pitches. That helps the next guy out. It gets the pitcher deep into his pitch counts. You know, all kinds of stuff that you don't see with the numbers. So those guys, that deal was big for us.
You know, and Alomar has always been noted as one of the more intelligent guys in the game. Take a look at his brother Sandy grounding out to first base. And what I mean by that is that if a pitcher has tendencies to tip his pitches, an off-speed pitch, or throw an off-speed pitch, say in a certain count, Robbie Alomar, with every team he's ever been on, has always brought that up. And whether he's the guy hitting a home run or scoring the run, a lot of times he's the guy behind the scene that has something to do with it.
Alomar due up right after Tony Graffinino, but there are 2 out. Jared Washburn here in the 6th inning. He has not surrendered a hit.
You know, right along with what Konerko said, hard to go with what they've done in the last week on that road trip, but right after the break they went through a stretch of winning 17 of 22 ball games.
Ground ball up the middle. Amezega on to first base, and it's a 1-2-3 inning. He threw just 5 pitches.
What's going on here?
Maybe something special tonight here in Chicago. Washburn in command. Already onto the top half of the 7th inning here in Chicago with the Angels ahead 1-0. The developing story here is that through 6 innings, the starter for Anaheim, left-hander Jared Washburn, has allowed just 1 base runner, and he has not given up a hit.
You know, and before it turns into the Jared Washburn possibly story, we need to talk a little bit about Mark Buehrle. Currently 6th in the American League in innings pitched. He goes 8 innings tonight. He moves to 3rd. Think about a guy that started out so slow and had to readjust because the league had adjusted to him. Well, he's right back on track where he's been the last couple of years for this team after his 50th career win tonight.
And then he trails 1-0, and he's coming off a very strong outing.
Yeah, that was just 5 days ago when these 2 teams and these 2 starting pitchers locked up. Buehrle 7 innings in that game, 2 earned runs, stuck with the 2-1 loss.
Missed outside there. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Adam Riggs, the leadoff hitter. Then it's Adam Kennedy. Buehrle firing in. Hit hard and underneath the glove, maybe over it. Graffinino could not make the play. Heading into second, Riggs. He digs, and he's in with 2. We'll see how they rule on that. That ball was hit sharply, and it will be a double for Adam Riggs.
Tough call for a third baseman there. Do you block it, play it off your chest? You know, with the speed of Riggs, if you're Graffinino, it's going to be a base hit. So he tried to catch it. He tried to glove it. You don't have any time at all to make that decision. I mean, you just have to react. His reaction was to try to glove it. He couldn't come up with it. Hustling on both the part of Carlos Lee and Riggs. The throw just off the line.
Here's Kennedy, the second baseman, 0 for 2. He's bunting. Off the hill, Buehrle. The runner will advance to third. A high throw, but in time to get Kennedy. And Riggs is safely into third base. So they're playing for another run here.
Don't be surprised if this guy here doesn't turn around and bunt. You got the perfect situation to do it with. And the reason I say it is because there's a left-handed pitcher on the mound. Just like a left-hander has the advantage with a runner on first, being able to look at him, look into his eyes, watch his body. Well, a right-hander can do the same thing when there's a man at third. Buehrle is going to have Adam Riggs to his back for this hole at bat.
Amezega has walked. He has also struck out. He has scored the only run that either side has gotten up there tonight on the board. It's 1-0. But the infield is in for Anaheim. A pitch out. That's exactly what they're thinking.
And that, to me, is like a pickoff move for a pitcher. It works even when it doesn't work, because it puts it into the opposing manager's mind. Hey, I'm not afraid to pitch out. Mike Scioscia's not afraid to put that sign back on.
Sure isn't. 32,381 looking on tonight in Chicago. No bunt. He pops it up. He'll be backing out of play.
That's what gets frustrating for a hitting coach and a manager. We look at Mickey Hatcher and Mike Scioscia. Take a look at how long the youngster's swing got. Look at it. Watch it. Look at that. I mean, there was a little hitch involved in the back, and he's just not able to get to that cut fastball, which is what he was looking for. It takes time, not only to learn to hit at the big league level, but then you got to learn to hit with runners in scoring position, as there are now.
And at third, here's the bunt. He got it down. Buehrle can't get it. Throw to first in time as that run comes on in to score. He did put it on again, and this time it worked.
If he can't hit, well, then try to help him out. You can't be afraid to take a chance, and Mike Scioscia never has been. You're not going to get a tougher pitch for a guy to get down as a bunt. Outstanding execution all the way around. Riggs did not break too soon. Graffinito, the third baseman, couldn't holler to Burley. There he goes. Burley saw him square around. He reacted with something hard and up. But an outstanding job by Alfredo getting it down.
I can't believe he got that bunt down on the grass. He picks up an RBI on the squeeze. And it's 2-0 Anaheim. So the base is empty. 2 gone for Sean Figgins. Now Figgins has made the defensive play of the night with that great diving play early in the contest to rob Carl Everett of an extra base hit. If he doesn't make that catch, we're not talking about a no-hit effort tonight by the left-hander Jared Washburn.
You know, with the limited schedule on Monday night, 3 games in the National League, just 3 in the American League, our Baseball Tonight boys might normally have struggled for web gems. We've got your whole show right here.
Figgins at the bat has gone 1 for 3. He swings and misses for strike 3. Side retired, but another run in on the suicide squeeze. And here comes Mr. Washburn back to the hill. He's working on a no-hitter. Bottom of the 7th inning. Alomar, the first batter in. He takes a strike from Jared Washburn, 29-year-old from La Crosse, Wisconsin. He is not allowed a hit through 6 innings. Diving and missing Kennedy, and finally a single. A hit for Alomar, and there goes the no-hit bid. Robbie Alomar has spoiled it, leading off the bottom of the 7th.
Well, he spoiled a lot of not only no-hitters but victories for pitchers in the past. Just an intelligent piece of hitting. Tried to stay inside of that cut fastball. Take a look at it. There it is on the outer half of the plate. You can see where his eyes were looking even after he hit that ball. That's exactly what he had in mind. Now that tying run is at home plate, and they've got some power coming at Jared Washburn.
It's Frank Thomas swinging at the first pitch. He took a vicious cut. He's 0 for 2 tonight. So 6 innings. And nobody got a hit until Alomar moments ago. In fact, only 1 man had gone as far as first base, and that was Carl Everett, who was hit by a pitch. Hasn't walked anybody. 1 strike on the big hurt. Swinging a high fly ball dead away center. Figgins racing. He's at the wall, and it is gone. This game is tied. Number 29 for Frank Thomas. And the White Sox, who are getting no hit all night, have tied it at 2.
That's been the one biggest knock on Jared Washburn this year. That is a big knock to the biggest part of the ballpark. But the home runs allowed, 28 home runs now allowed. He hadn't allowed any in his last 4 starts till then.
Ordonez hammers it underneath Spezio and down the left field line. Ordonez takes a wide turn. He goes back to first. That'll be an error on Scott Spezio. And how quickly is this thing turning?
Took these fans a while to get up off of their chairs. There was absolutely nothing to cheer about. There's a routine ground ball. Spezio just, the ball was hit so hard he just kind of froze to begin with. He never got down in a true fielding position to make that play.
So he had no hit stuff until this inning. He's only thrown 5 pitches here in the 7th. There's another one hit hard, stung foul by Carlos Lee. But in the first 4 pitches of the inning, Alomar with an 0-1 pitch, he singled. Thomas with a home run, and then he errored Ordonez knocking it stiff underneath the glove of Spezio.
Talking to Konerko before the game, their hitting coach Greg Walker, they say when Robbie Alomar gets on, he scores. Well, he does it again tonight.
It's Quinlan running over there at first base for Ordonez, and a high pop up into left. And a catch made by Anderson for the out. Let's go down to Gary Miller, who has a special guest and a very close relative of Mr. Washburn's.
Thanks a lot, Dave. You know, I may not be allowed in the Angels section again. I got Scott's dad, Ed Spezio, here, and his bandmate, Andy Anderson, to my left, and I got Casey Washburn to my right. What was that inning like for you, Casey?
A little frustrating. I was hoping we would have got some more hits the inning before. They need a little bit more insurance for Jared. This is typical for him, but he'll come through.
Losing the no-hitter, I saw you bury your hands when he lost the no-hitter, and then Thomas's home run. What's the best game you've ever seen Jared pitch?
Oh, gosh. Honestly, the... Uh-oh.
Now you're going to get a foul ball.
The best game that I saw him pitch that really sticks out in my memory is honestly his debut. Unfortunately, I was sitting at home watching it, but it was... I don't know. I don't judge his games by what's the best as far as how good he's done, just the most fun to watch. And obviously the World Series was great last year, but his debut was really a fun game to watch, and just seeing, I don't know, the look on his face for finally achieving what his dream was, that was the best for me.
About a 3-hour drive from Appleton, Wisconsin down here. Of course, Jared went to Oshkosh, a Division III school, and now he's in the major leagues pitching in the World Series. What's this been like for you this past year?
Interesting, especially at work. I work at Oshkosh, so I get a lot of people that watched him growing up all the time coming in asking me, well, how's he doing? When's he pitching next? And it's just been really exciting and really great for the whole family just to see him achieve his worldwide dream. And I don't know, it's just fulfilling to see him so happy.
Well, Jared had to get about a dozen tickets. The Spezio family from Morris, which is down the other direction about an hour and a half. Scott had to come up with 30 tickets. You know what that's like, Sut.
They're tough to get in this town.
Really hard to tell that Jared and Casey are related, isn't it? Bounding ball sharply right at Spezio to Kennedy. That's one, and a 5-4-3 double play. That will retire the side, but Chicago gets hits against that man Washburn for the very first time, including a 2-run shot by Frank Thomas, and this game is all tied up at 2. Top half of inning number 8 coming up here. It'll be Eric Owens in the box for Anaheim, and finally this crowd of over 32,000 was something to cheer about, because, well, at last Jared Washburn broke a little bit as he finally gives up a hit. In fact, gave up a pair, and a home run by the big hurt Frank Thomas. Well, Frank Thomas saying today that that's what he is paid to do in his estimation, hit home runs, and he blasted one out to the deepest part of U.S. Cellular Field.
He was always that complete hitter, though. You know, those MVP years and a great career that he's put up that I honestly think will get him to the Hall of Fame. I don't know that it'll be a first ballot now, as we all predicted at one time, but well deserving. He always had doubles. He was always on base, a lot of walks, and the home run.
Early with pitch number 101, and it's popped up to Konerko. One down in the 8th. Let's go to the studio, and here's Bill Peterbilt.
All right, Dave, Mets and the Rockies this afternoon. Mike Piazza looking good since his return. His 9th home run of the year, and it puts the Mets up by the score of 2-0. Jared Washburn loses a no-no. How about Steve Traxel? A no-hitter through 5 2/3. Colorado's pitcher, Chinwe Sal. First major league hit, breaks up the no-no. That's the only hit Traxel gave up, a one-hitter. Mets win it 8-zip.
That's the second time this year he's tossed one of those.
Well, that's a tough hit there. You know, you tell your outfielders, though, when you're pitching in the National League and the opposing pitcher's up, if it drops in front of you, he beat you. If it goes over your head, then he beat me. You saw Traxel kick the ground a little bit. Ball wouldn't really hit that deep. You wonder, you know, why was Timo so shallow? Well, that's the way you design it.
Alomar played it perfectly, and Garrett Anderson is 1 for 4. 2 up, 2 down in the 8th in front of Tim Salmon. That's a lousy way to lose a no-hitter. I mean, you're a pretty good hitting pitcher, but even if a guy loses a no-hitter against a good hitting pitcher, That's bad.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Well, those are tough too. Both of those guys pitching well enough to win. You'll look at a lot of box scores tomorrow, and you put up that pitching line, you put up a W. That decision, though, is still in the air.
Tim Salmon 1 for 3 this evening. He singled back in the 6th inning. And after 10 distinguished big league seasons, he finally got a taste of October last year. Down to get it, Graffinino. Nice play moving to his left. And it's another fast inning from Mark Burley. He's hung in there all night. That frame took him just 9 pitches. We're tied at 2. Both of these left-handed starters, that's Mark Burley and his opponent Jared Washburn, have been terrific tonight. Neither one of them right now in line for a win, though, despite their outstanding efforts. This one tied 2-2 in the bottom of the 8th inning. Konerko tonight 0 for 2, hitting just .229 with a dozen home runs, but 7 of those have come since the second half got underway. He's been 2 different hitters. He was awful in the first half by his own admission. And tapped off the glove, barehanded by Amaziga, throws low, dugout, and in time. Quinlan with a nice play over there at first base on the backhand stab of the low toss for out number 1.
That's outstanding all the way around. First of all, for Washburn to get a piece of it, just to try to knock it down. Then look at the kid. There's the bare hand. Look at the arm strength. And also the intelligence on the part of the shortstop, because you know if you airmail it over his head, he can't help you. But anytime you got a long throw or you got to hurry it or you're off balance, if you think down, occasionally the first baseman can help you. And he's giving the thanks right back.
A slew of outstanding plays tonight, especially by Mike Scioscia's team in the field. You think about a couple of catches from Garrett Anderson in left by that guy Sean Figgins in center field. The play we just saw, which was a 1-6-3.
Well, you said it right off the bat after the first inning. As quick as these guys were working all of the strikes, you got to want to play defense behind them.
And both sides getting it. Outside on Valentine, he has gone 0 for 2.
He can go from awful to awesome probably as quick as anybody in the league right now, that being Valentine.
Fly ball right center, not deep. In comes Owens for the catch. Out number 2 to the studio. Here's Bill Pito.
All right, all eyes on the Royals and the Yankees. KC once down 9-4, cut it to 9-6, but the bases loaded. 7th inning, Nick Johnson finally healthy. Base hit. Drives in Hideki Matsui. That makes it 10-6, and runner tagged out of the plate. 10-6 right now in the bottom of the 6th inning as Posado's tagged out of the plate.
And here's the AL Central up to the minute. Nothing's changed so far tonight, with the Royals leading these White Sox and the Minnesota Twins by 3. And the White Sox trying to snap a 5-game losing streak. It was just 10 days ago they were in first place in this division, and they were talking very confidently, Jerry Manuel included, about, okay, here we go. We're where we belong. We're in the lead in the Central. I don't think this would describe Jerry's demeanor, but some of his team got downright cocky. I know Tony Graffinino made a comment. He said, we really do respect Kansas City. We know they're a good club, but we think we are better. And I guess you have to feel that way, but they have not played that way all season long. Off the end of the bat, flare to Owens and right. And it's yet another 1-2-3 inning for Jared Washburn. He's had a bunch of those. The 7th inning cost him, though. He gave up 2 then. And we're still tied. Well, an extremely well-pitched game here at 2-2 ties. We go to the top half of the 9th inning. Jared Washburn had a no-hitter into the 7th, lost that. Also lost a shutout bid. Here's Tom Gordon. Mark Burley went the first 8, giving up 2 runs, 6 hits.
Yeah, and you wonder why Burley would come out. He just went over the 100 pitch mark. Well, when you've got a 24-year-old left-handed pitcher that won 19 games for you last year, you're smart to take him out 1 inning too soon as opposed to 1 inning too late.
So it's Gordon against Spezio. He takes the first pitch outside, ball 1.
We mentioned earlier, too, Mark Burley with 8 innings pitched tonight, currently 3rd in the American League in that category.
Troy Percival, the flamethrower, getting ready for the Anaheim Angels. Spezio's hit a dozen home runs, but hitless tonight. Benji Molina will follow him. So just 6 hits for the Angels in this one. They got the first run of the contest in the third on a walk and a couple of base hits, an RBI single by Garrett Anderson. They added another on a suicide squeeze play to drive in a run in the 7th inning. And Mike Scioscia was probably feeling pretty good at that point, but then the White Sox came storming back. A base hit by Robbie Alomar to begin the 7th inning. That was the first hit of the game off Washburn for Chicago. Moments later, Frank Thomas touched them all, a 2-run homer to tie it out there to right center. And here we are at 2-2. That's up and away at 93 miles an hour by Gordon.
You know, I know Percival's up and throwing right now. He acts like he's getting ready to come into the game, but I'm thinking Washburn might go back out. He cruised through the bottom of the 8th inning. If it's still tied, he might be back out there for the bottom of the ninth. Obviously, if there's a lead, the Angels closer will be coming in.
Just off the corner. Spezio got that call.
Spezio's probably got more incentive than anybody in this Angel lineup to get on base and get a win for Washburn. He was the one that committed the only error of the game thus far tonight. It didn't cost him a run, but it cost him some pitches.
Payoff pitch, and that is outside for ball 4. So here in the 9th inning, in a 2-2 tie, the leadoff man is on. And let's join Gary Miller now out there in left field. I think you're about to get wet there, my man.
Hey, Dave. You know, this Harry Carey started this tradition in the old Comiskey Park. Now, it's not that hot tonight. It's a little humid. But I'm never above humiliating myself just for the sake of television. The crowd wants it. You guys want it. I'm going to cool off. There's a weatherproof tie here. We'll put that to the test.
You gotta love those clip-ons. Thanks, Gary. They come in handy. I hope that's a dry, cleanable shirt. The crowd was a little vicious there.
You know, last week he had to put a sport coat on his expense report because he didn't have one there. So Tim Scanlon better get ready. There's a laundry bill, either that or a new. Everything's new. Everything will be new.
Yeah, this is all of a sudden turned into an episode of Jerry Springer. A bit scary here. Spezio at first base, and Molina up there to bunt. He takes outside for ball.
I think now you put the hit and run on. Molina looked terrible on that first sacrifice bunt attempt. He's taking a look down there at Ron Renicky.
Molina's gone 0 for 3. Couple of ground outs. He's also lined out to right field.
He has one sacrifice bunt on the year.
He squares around with a throw over by Gordon. 2 runs on 6 hits, 1 error for Anaheim. For the White Sox, 2 runs, just 2 hits, and no errors. And there have been 4 or 5 terrific defensive plays by these two clubs combined, most of them by the Angels. The runner goes, bunt play on, he got it down. Gordon delivers the throw to first base. And the go-ahead run now in scoring position for Anaheim.
Somebody missed a sign. I'm getting some high fives, but I'm guessing that it was Molina that missed the sign. Spezio took off and running. You're not going to put down a bunt on a situation like that, because you pop it up, you're doubled off, and you're basically out of the inning. With Spezio taking off, that leads me to believe that Molina was supposed to pull it back and either take it or try to hit just a ground ball somewhere on the infield with the defense moving.
That's the 3rd sacrifice bunt of the evening for the Angels.
Take a look at it now. There he goes. He's off and running. You got to swing the bat. You see him look back. That tells you right there that was a hit and run. And I mean, that was the play to put on. Mike Scioscia never afraid to put something on. And why I say that is, with a sacrifice bunt, now you got a guy up for his first at bat, a young guy. Flash Gordon strikes out more people per 9 innings than any other reliever in the American League. You strike him out or get him out, you walk Kennedy, and you get another rookie up there. Where's the base hit going to come from? The percentages say you're not going to get it.
Well, let's see if the backfire pays off here. They've got Rob Quinlan up. And he was the Angels minor league MVP last year. Swung a very good bat at AAA Salt Lake City at .333.
Biggest thing I've seen about Quinlan, though, he swings at everything. Not patient enough to be consistent at this level yet. You look at the Tony Batista kind of stance.
On the infield, a little squibber, but it'll be a foul ball. So Spezio will be sent back to second base.
Mike Riley, the crew chief, down there at third base, immediately making that call.
This game is not yet 2 hours old. 1 hour and 55 minutes as we speak. We have been zipping along tonight. Washburn was tossing a no-hitter until the 7th inning for Anaheim. The 0-2 pitch. Topped over the mound. Valentine on to first to get him. 2 down, but a runner at third now for the Angels.
You're going to put some pressure on Sandy Alomar here. Flash Gordon's velocity is back. He can get people out with that fastball now, but his main out pitch is that big overhand curveball. With that go-ahead run just 90 feet away, Percival ready up there in the bullpen, that might take that breaking ball out of this at bat.
Adam Kennedy digs in. He's gone 0 for 2 with a sacrifice. He's driven in 37 runs so far this year, and he came in swinging a very good bat as of late. Against Detroit on Sunday, he was 3 for 4, 3 RBIs, scored 4 runs, and he had 6 hits in his previous 10 at bats before 0 for 2 this evening. Off of Gordon, he kicks it out in front of the mound, collects it, and gets it. And that run fails to score. Flash Gordon gotten away. Fortuitous indeed. Washburn is coming back out to pitch as we go to the bottom of the ninth, all tied up in Chicago at 2 apiece. First pitch to him is inside for ball 1. He's gone 0 for 3.
Yeah, but he's got the ability to pop one. That's what the Atlanta Braves loved about him when he was with them. He's a winning type, hard-nosed player.
They get Alomar up next, and then Frank Thomas, who has already clouded a 2-run homer to tie this game in the 7th. The 2-0 pitch. He missed badly there. 3-0.
You know, the crowd's into it. I mean, you see Dahlbeck up there and cheering, but where's everybody else at? You got a chance to win a ball game, pick up a game on the team in first place, and I don't see about half the guys out there, even on the bench, let alone on that top step, trying to encourage somebody to win a game.
It's mostly the pitching core there in one corner. You made the point that that clubhouse is kind of fractured like that. You know, pockets of players kind of paired off or grouped off, and maybe not the most cohesive clubhouse as far as clubs in contention that you're ever going to see.
And you know, that's where leadership is so important. You know, you bring people together. You force them to get along. And you know, Ordonez is just quiet. That's not his style. Frank Thomas is, you know, he was a leader before. He's not really now. Alomar and Everett just got here. I mean, there's really no set leader there.
Line shot toward the alley. That's going to split Anderson and Figgins. It's up against the fence. Graffinino into second. He pulls up with a double, leading off the bottom of the ninth for the White Sox.
"31 years of age. You want to know how a guy stays in the big leagues? You're looking at it. Big hits like this that people remember. He did it in Atlanta. He has done it here. Patient. You know that Washburn's been out there for 8 innings now. He took a 2-0 strike. He worked the count, got it to a position where he got something he can handle. And that's, I don't know, that's just not enough excitement for me.
Washburn has pitched a marvelous game, but he could lose it tonight. Alomar bunting toward third, gets it down, but it rolls foul. It was Roberto Alomar who broke up the no-hit bid by Washburn with a single to lead off the 7th. He might be the man to break his heart tonight. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without written consent. MLB.com has the widest selection of items for the team you love. Shop MLB.com.
I say you better hurry and get that in.
Alomar bunting again, but he lets it go and it's inside and low. 1 ball, 1 strike. Thomas on deck. Nobody out in the pitch. He turns to bunt. This one's fair. Spezio has 1 play. Got him. Down to third moves Graffinino. And here comes the manager, Mike Scioscia.
There's a right-hander up and throwing in his bullpen right now, but that doesn't look like the look Mike Scioscia gives you when he's going to make a move. I think he wants to talk to Washburn here. You know what? You've pitched this far. You've gone this deep in the game. You pitched the first game of the World Series last year for me. What do you want to do? You want to try to get Thomas out? You want to put him on, try to get Ordonez to hit into a double play? Or do you want to load him up? You load the bases up. You bring Carlos Lee up. We can bring everybody in. You make the call. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, he's going to bring Figgins in to play right on top of second base. And to me, it looks like he's going to load the bases and try to get everybody in on the infield.
Frank Thomas to hit next. Back to the 7th inning with a man on. This is what the Big Hurt did. A 2-run homer to tie it 2-2.
I think this is the move you have to make. Frank Thomas has had 3 real good at-bats tonight. We just saw the difference in the ball game right now. Ordonez is their all-star. He's the man. You're not going to pitch to him and let him beat you. So you put them both on. Crowd's not going to like it, but I think that's the right move to make.
Sean Figgins, by the way, you mentioned Scioscia brought him in. He didn't just bring him in. He brought him all the way to the dugout. He's going to get a new glove. He's going to get a different glove. And here he comes.
Play the infield.
He's going to basically be an infielder. Now, if they walk Thomas, it figures they'll pass on Ordonez as well. That'll load up the bases with 1 down. And they'll go after Carlos Lee, who has grounded into 18 double plays. That seems to be the strategy here.
And these things aren't automatic here. If I'm Frank Thomas, I get right on top of the plate. Try to get something that you can reach. Look at here.
They're going to pitch to him. Now, how about this with the extra infielder in there for strike 1? And there is no center fielder, a left fielder, and a right fielder. They're in medium depth. But 5 infielders, and Thomas will be pitched to, and he checks his swing. So this is fascinating.
Well, this is what Jared Washburn wanted to do. One of the options Mike Scioscia gave him. And look at that. This guy's a workhorse. He's a warrior. 91 miles an hour still out there here in the bottom of the 9th.
The pitch to Thomas. Swing and a miss. He took a hack on an 88-mile-an-hour pitch, and it's 1-2.
I haven't looked at the location on it. If there was ever a hole for Frank Thomas, you just saw it. Good low ball hitter. Good extension, likes the ball out over the plate.
The left-hander's 1-2 pitch. Up high. This is a huge gamble that Scioscia takes, because Washburn has to get this guy. And then the man up next has been the most consistent run producer for 5 years for the Chicago White Sox, Maglio Ordonez. 2-2 and a high fly ball down the left field line, fading into foul territory, and it will go into the stands. A mile up by Frank Thomas. Well, now a lot more of them have come up to the top step. It's not quite as lonely as it was a few minutes ago in the White Sox dugout. They get a chance to break a 5-game losing skid right now.
There's no doubt in my mind that if the Angels had a chance to get into the playoffs this year, this whole inning would have been different. Washburn would not have been out there. He would have gone to possibly his all-star Brendan Donnelly to come in and pitch, just like the Chicago White Sox did in the top of this inning. But this is your horse. This is the guy that has done so much for you. Washburn's going to continue to do it, and Scioscia's giving him an opportunity to get out of it.
2 infielders on the right side, 3 on the left side, as center fielder Sean Figgins is essentially playing shortstop in the drawn-in infield. Raffanino at third, and it's up and in under the chin of the Big Hurt. That was his 100th pitch from Jared Washburn, and the count is full.
Well, this is all he's seen. The last 5 consecutive pitches have been fastballs on the inner half. Going to go away. Changeup.
There it goes. Shot to left. Gone. Frank Thomas with a game-winning home run. A 2-run rocket shot to left. And the White Sox win it.
There's so many people in this lineup for the White Sox that can carry this ball club. It was Frank Thomas's turn tonight. 4 runs scored by the White Sox, all 4 driven in by the Big Hurt.
A pair of 2-run homers. He got one in the 7th, and the game winner, the walk-off job in the 9th.
When it gets the fastball in, which got him ahead in the count, you see Molina second-guessing himself. It's a changeup. It's down. Something that Frank Thomas can extend on. Plus, the location was right where he wanted it. It ended up being a souvenir. Raffanino, you can't say enough about him. That's a winning-type ball player. Intangibles like that set up big hits for the big-time players that make the difference in wins.
Well, earlier in the game, Mike Scioscia's strategy worked to perfection on the suicide squeeze to bring in a run. This time it backfires as Frank Thomas, they pitch to him, and the Big Hurt delivers a whole lot of pain. A pair of 2-run homers for him. For Rick Sutcliffe, Gary Miller, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Dave O'Brien. Sports Center is coming up next. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. From Chicago, good night, everybody.